This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
All right. I used to do daily content for pretty much all of 2023. And I got kind of burned out on it. I was trying to do it for like paid stuff. And I mean, it was cool. I enjoyed doing it. I thought I was covering a bunch of really important stuff that people normally aren't seeing and don't know about in the news. But I wasn't seeing a lot of return on that. And not just like return as in like making money off of it. I've never done any of this stuff with the intent of making money. I just don't get any feedback. Like nobody ever tells me we appreciate what you're doing and you're talking about good stuff. I didn't know that otherwise. Like it just kind of it felt like I was just talking to my computer screen and not accomplishing anything. So I stopped doing it and I decided to really dial back the amount of content stuff that I did in 2024, which is what I've done. I went from doing two full-length shows a week plus daily stuff, pretty much 5 days a week. On average, probably 4 days a week, but I was trying to do stuff 5 days a week. And I cut all that back, and I've just been doing like a show once a week, if even that, and writing on my Substack. But it feels like there's a lot of stuff that's been going on that warrants being talked about because the way the mainstream media is pushing and talking about a lot of this stuff, it's blatantly dishonest. And a lot of people don't know because, well, generally speaking, people don't actually read the articles. They read the headline and that's it. Or they don't take the time to dig into a lot of the specifics on the stories being talked about. So this week, I'm going to start doing some daily stuff. And I'm going to run the daily stuff probably out through at least through the beginning of December and kind of see how it goes and see how it's received. And so like the big thing that I ask of anybody who's watching, listening to any of this, paying attention, is give me some feedback. Hit like, share it with your friends, and tell me if this is stuff that you actually want to hear, because I'll stop fucking doing this again. Like I really, like, I don't need feedback, but I'm not going to just sit here and talk to my screen if nobody's getting anything out of this. Like I have better things I can do with my time. But I do want to get this stuff out because I do feel like it is actually important and people need to know about this stuff. So for instance, today we're going to start with, as if you've read the title of this, we're going to start with Matt Gaetz. So Trump's nominations for a lot of his cabinet positions are getting a lot of attention. And in the mainstream, it's all largely negative attention. So this week, we're going to talk about Matt Gaetz, we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth, and we're going to talk about RFK Jr., as well as a couple of other things that are not directly Trump appointee related, but will be incoming administration related and the way things are getting twisted and lied about on some of that stuff. So like, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start today with Matt Gaetz. And let's start right off the bat. Why do they hate Matt Gaetz so much? Why is it that they're so terrified of him becoming the Attorney General? Attorney General. This might have something to do with it.
Congressman Gaetz offered to take us on a tour.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at one or two offices, but as it turns out, energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading.
Sure.
And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Gaetz, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the ethics committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here.
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
Gosh, I wonder why all of the insiders in Washington, D.C. wouldn't want Matt Gaetz to be named Attorney General. I wonder why there are so many Senate Republicans who don't want Matt Gaetz named Attorney General. Did you notice that the two names that they went through in that were both Senate Republicans who are on the ethics committee that are doing some really unethical shit? So as an attack on Matt Gaetz, they release this article, and this article has gotten republished at least half a dozen times over the course of the weekend. And I'm not going to read the entire thing, but the headline is really all you need to know of what they're trying to accomplish with the article. A woman testified to the House Ethics Committee that Gaetz had sex with her when she was 17, according to sources. These are largely unnamed sources. And when they do actually start naming sources, the sources that they name for this are, let me see if I can find the Joel Greenberg. So Joel Greenberg is a straight up felon sex trafficker who has lied about everything he's ever been involved with ever for like forever. The dude's doing some serious jail time for a bunch of really like terrible fucking shit. But to get to the short part of this, because I do want these to be short. The short part of this whole thing, the headline that they're running with to try to make it seem like Matt Gaetz is unqualified to be Attorney General. A woman testified to House Ethics Committee that Gaetz had sex with her when she was 17. Also, we've just seen what the Ethics Committee, how ethical the Ethics Committee actually is. So, take the Ethics Committee with a grain of salt. This entire case was investigated heavily over the course of 3 years and then dismissed entirely. They didn't bring any charges. They found absolutely nothing. Everything about the case actually pointed to the guy who said that Gaetz did it being the one who was doing the shady shit, that Joel Greenberg that we talked about earlier. Like literally nothing ever came of it. They couldn't ever find any evidence that Gaetz actually did anything at all. A lot of it, they tried to tie a lot of it to Venmo payments that were made by Greenberg to a bunch of other people that also never connected to Gaetz in any way. Like the entire investigation turned up precisely jack fucking shit. And it's been dismissed over a year ago. Even corrupt fucking Merrick Garland couldn't find anything to charge Gaetz with through a 3-year investigation, and it all got dismissed. So this is the smoking gun that mainstream media, The Hill, ABC, CNN, and who's the other one? There's, I think, Newsweek. Those are the 4 big ones that I've seen run this same fucking article. That's the big smoking gun that they've come up with, was a case that was investigated heavily for 3 years, dismissed over a year ago with absolutely no charges being brought because they never could find anything to corroborate any of the story. But now they're running these headlines. Mainstream media is a complete crock of shit. They are bringing stuff out that, like, if they're accusing you of something, that means you're probably doing something right. They know that Gaetz is not a Washington insider and is going to be exposing a lot of the stuff like we showed in the video at the beginning of the clip. He is not a fan of any of these supposedly ethical politicians have been a giant middle finger to the establishment and the deep state. And that's what's beautiful and brilliant about it. And that's also why they're going to keep trying to run these smear campaigns against all of them. So that does it for today. That's debunking the Matt Gaetz bullshit, which if you read the article, every single one of these articles, if you get about 2/3 of the way into it, it explains everything in detail. Like, it gives you all of the information, and I'll put a link to the article on Facebook and Rumble and YouTube, so you can go read it yourself. The article gives all of the information to debunk its own like headline. And that's the way most fact checks are. That's the whole reason I started doing a show to begin with, because you would get fact checked on something and it would say, oh, fact check false. And then when you go and you read the fact check, it says fact check false. But then as you read it, it goes on to explain why it's not actually false. Or the really fun ones, the best ones were, it would say fact check false. And the reason that it was fact check false was not because it was the thing that was being said was untrue, but because it wasn't as bad as what the reality really was. Be like, oh, this guy molested 6 kids. And then they're like, fact check false. Turns out he actually molested 16 kids. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, it's actually so much worse. So anyway, that's why I started doing this to begin with. And that's what I'm going to be doing with the daily stuff, is trying to keep it, short, sweet, and to the point. Let's look at what's the problem, what are they saying, and what's the truth of it. So today we talked about Matt Gaetz. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth, the Fox correspondent who has been named to the, I think, the Secretary of Defense. There's a bunch of stuff about him being a white supremacist and all kinds of other shit. We're going to go ahead and debunk that, but that'll be tomorrow. So tune back in. I'm going to be doing this pretty much every day around the same time of morning. So if you're interested in like what's actually going on in the news versus what the news is blatantly lying about, tune in, check it out. And please, like I said at the beginning, give me some feedback. Like it, share it, tell me what you want. If there's an article or a topic or something you want me to talk about, let me know. I'm always looking for stuff to talk about. So that's all I got for today. I will see you tomorrow to talk about Pete Hegseth, and then we will do RFK Jr. on Wednesday. See you then. Later.